There goes Davis. Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way
Here
back.
comes pressure. Bortles sees it coming. Looking for Wharton in the end zone. Wharton behind the defense. Oh! Are you kidding?
Welcome back to Charlotte. You combine mist with fireworks pregame. We had a near fog out until about a minute ago. Now, Paul Johnson gave his pregame speech a while ago at the team hotel. His message to his team: you belong, you should believe tonight.
It's not going to take a Herculean effort to do this, guys. You belong. If you get to a championship game, you earned it. Didn't nobody just hand us a ticket and say, hey, why don't you go play Florida State? Starting back in August, you earned it. You got every right to be here. Trust your abilities. Understand that you're just as good or better than the guy across from you. And go play.
And more important than anything, every possession is every possession today. Take care. This is our time. Ain't no time now to worry about what the outcome is. Don't look at the scoreboard. One play at a time. From the first play to the last play. Give it to me. One time. First play to last play. Go get what's yours. You determine what happens to you. You control your outcome. You control what happens to us. We do. Nobody else in the country can say that every year. We always do. That's Florida State, okay? Let's go have some fun, guys.
The Seminoles win streak at 28. They've survived time and again this season with their backs to the wall, but not a real big favorite tonight over Georgia Tech with the ACC championship at stake. To the field, and Heather Cox.
Chris, thank you so much. Coach, Florida State's 28-game win streak started against Georgia Tech in this very ACC championship game. I know you'd like it to end in this game. In your mind, what will it take?
Well, we just have to play our type of game and, stay away from the mistakes and the turnovers. We'd like to get off to a good start, but it's going to be a 60-minute game.
Your type of game is an option run game, but you have relied on one receiver all season, Andre Smelter, who tore his ACL last week. How do you compensate for that loss?
We've got other guys. If we need to throw the ball, we've got other guys we can throw it to.
We're looking forward to it. Thanks, Coach. Chris, back to you.
They will need to throw it, and guys like Darren Waller, Michael Summers will have to step up because Smelter was a big part of the offense. And there is the man who will have to deliver the football, and Kirk make excellent reads and runs tonight, Justin Thomas.
He has really exploded onto the scene this year, Chris, in this offense. It's a triple option attack. Very, very different. If you have not seen Georgia Tech this year, what they do with Thomas, he is probably the best pure option quarterback, most explosive quarterback that Paul Johnson's had run this system at Georgia Tech.
But Florida State's number 5 will get the football first. Tech won the toss and deferred. Harrison Butker, one of the heroes against Georgia with that game-tying field goal, will kick it away. And the Seminoles will take possession first with a conference championship and a playoff spot on the line here in Charlotte. The fog lifting just in time for kickoff. Kermit Whitfield. Rashad Green, our back deep. And a touchback. Will Jameis Winston translate that good week of practice, Kirk, that pregame intensity to a much better start? It was confusing last week against the Gators how poorly he played.
Yeah, the 3 interceptions in the first quarter, and it started really early with the first couple possessions where he looked a little bit confused. Georgia Tech is going to try to duplicate that with mixing up their looks. One thing they've studied this year with Jameis is if you sit in the same coverage and he knows which you're in, he's going to go after you and attack you. They're going to try to mix things up as much as they can. They better be ready for Dalvin Cook in the Florida State running game because they're undersized up front.
Again, Carlos Williams out with concussion. Number 4, the true freshman, will get a heavy dose tonight. And he's got the carry in the Seminoles' first play, running left, hammering ahead for about 6 yards. The Chick-fil-A impact players tonight, Kurt.
Well, Dalvin Cook, who is really, I think, going to become more and more of a factor within this offense. A true freshman from Miami, Rashad Green. Again, he and Nick O'Leary will be the go-to guys on the perimeter. P.J. Davis leads Georgia Tech in tackles, and D.J. White had the big interception last week. A real leader in the secondary will have to hold up against Green.
Cook, again, tries the right side, very short gain. 144 yards against the Florida Gators. He's been huge when they've needed him in games like Louisville and Miami. Winston facing an early 3rd down now.
Well, a really, really good job up front by Georgia Tech's defensive end, Patrick Gamble, that time, holding up at the point of attack up against Bobby Hart. Just nowhere for Dalvin Cook to get to the outside.
They need 4 yards to move the chains. Winston over the middle, behind his receiver. Looking for Jesus Bobo Wilson. Inaccurate throw from the quarterback and an early 3-and-out.
You can see the linebackers are very, very aware of Rashad Green right here. In fact, they follow him, and when they do, they just open up the middle of this defense. The ball is thrown well enough there. You would think that Jameis would be able to make the throw and the catch on this early 3rd down, but a nice job of disguising how they want to use Rashad Green and Bobo Wilson that time, and Jameis not on the same page.
Kason Beatty to punt it away. Jamal Golden is deep for Tech. Did he wave a quick fair catch? I thought he did, but takes it and is dropped at the 29-yard line. Kind of gave a half fair catch and then took the punt. And here's Thomas now.
Justin Thomas, 5'11", 189 pounds, same state. We talked earlier about how he played against Jameis Winston as a youngster. Was recruited all over the SEC as a defensive back, and you know, he wanted to play quarterback, and Georgia Tech gave him that opportunity. Has had a great year. It's not just the option game tonight. He's going to have to make some big plays in the passing game, and without DeAndre Smelter, the senior, his best receiver, that means 88 Darren Waller or the sophomore Michael Summers. Somebody will have to step up at some point and win on the outside against man-to-man coverage from Florida State.
Here is Paul Johnson's flex bone. Keeper. And Thomas shows the speed. It began with a good read, dancing down the sidelines out near midfield.
Well, with the ball in the hash, they're going to bring the corner blitz right here. And when they pick it up, there's nobody left there coming off of this ball fake. There's nobody left on the outside. You can see the receivers of this group do a great job of blocking downfield.
Thomas trying to tightrope that sideline, stepped out at the 43, so a 14-yard gain on the first play. Carries the ball more than any other Tech ball carrier. Very effective passer as well. Now they toss the ball on the sweep here to Charles Perkins, and he's knocked down.
You get so caught up in watching the football. Those of us, watching this game, the linebackers, the safeties. And what happens is if you lose your assignment and you start to follow the football and you start to go with start guessing where you think the ball is, you're going to get into trouble. Charles Kelly is the defensive coordinator from Florida State. He was on this Georgia Tech staff. He understands the offense, but to try to get his defense ready in 5 days is a great challenge.
And up the middle, this is big Sinjin Davis, one of the senior leaders, one of the B-backs who goes 231. Tough to bring down. He's got first down yardage.
And they're going to read Mario Edwards here. This is a good example of what they'll do. Watch Mario Edwards right in here and watch how they read him. If he stays wide, which he does here, there's the read right here. He stays wide, and when he stays wide, you give to the fullback an easy read, and you can see when you give, that fullback is the key to setting this offense up. The B-back, the fullback, Sinjin Days, and also Zach Lasky tonight.
Pitch it to the edge again. This is Deion Hill. Yet another ball carrier for Georgia Tech. A short game. Yellow Jackets, Chick-fil-A impact players.
I think this offense starts with the B-back, which is their fullback. You're going to see two guys, Sinjin Days, 10 and 37. Zach Lasky will be rolling in and out. Darren Waller's got to step up, as we said, with the injury to Smelter. Mario Edwards, we just saw him being read. He's got to have a great game. And, of course, the inspirational leader of this Florida State defense, Jalen Ramsey's got to get everybody aligned and make sure everybody's following their assignments.
This is Days, and he's got some daylight. Dragged down from behind by Nate Andrews, but a big gain deep into Seminole territory.
Watch this double team, Chris, on the right side right here. They work this side, and then Jalen Ramsey's on the outside, but it's the right guard and the right tackle that work along with the H-back to just open up the middle of that Florida State defense. And right now, Florida State's defense is on its heels, facing a lot of different looks and a very, very quick offense.
Thomas pitches late, taken away by Perkins. Perkins knifing down inside the 10. And the option working to perfection early.
They go after Mario Edwards again. Edwards is on the end. Watch him. He comes down. It's last time he stayed wide and they gave it to the B-back. This time he collapses down. A great read again. Justin Thomas is on fire right now with his reads within this offense. We've seen him give it. We've seen him pull it out. We've seen him pitch it. Right now, he has been flawless on this opening drive with his decision-making.
But can it continue in the red zone? It's been a little bit of a problem area. They hand it off to Days, and he muscles down near the 1. Well, to look more impressive as an option offense that Tech has in this first possession.
The offensive line, look at the surge. I mean, the surge, the push that these guys are getting against the strength of Florida State, which is that big front defensive line with Edwards and Eddie Goldman and company. Right now, Georgia Tech up front helping Justin Thomas and these backs out by winning that battle.
Second and goal. Hand off to Days. Watt down, an excellent tackle, but not before he scores. And the Ramblin' Wreck rambles 71 yards in their first possession to take the lead.
We might take another look at this to see if the ball broke the plane. I don't know. Half of his body went in. Eddie Goldman is down. Half of his body was in, but I don't know if the ball actually broke the plane by the time he was down.
It's a good observation. Ramsey makes a very strong tackle, gets him in the arms, and then
it's the ball
down. Yeah,
it's all about the positioning of the ball. At the very least, worth a couple looks.
I was surprised when they signaled touchdown because I'm like you. I think he was stopped short. Good job by Andrews flying in there, giving just enough contact to prevent Days from leaning into the end zone.
If he crossed the goal line, it's when he initially right there would be the only chance he has of crossing it.
That ball did not cross the point.
Didn't look like it.
So Ted Jackson, the ACC replay official, will look at this and is doing so right now. A referee is Gary Patterson, not the guy who coached TCU to a victory earlier today in Fort Worth, a different one. If it is overturned, Kirk, it's going to be third and goal.
The thing that is just amazing was the execution of that opening drive and how Florida State, with Charles Kelly and the experience as a defensive coordinator, knowing this attack, their heads were spinning. They didn't know if it was a run up the middle, if they were going to go outside with a quarterback, if they were going to go outside with a running back.
Another story that's developing right now is that Eddie Goldman, one of the junior leaders, the 320-pounder in that Florida State defensive line, a guy who's the sack leader, one of the clutch players.
Ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
Wow. All right, Ted Jackson saw something we did not see, or at least didn't see enough to overturn the call of touchdown.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what happened, is maybe they didn't have enough evidence to overturn it.
I didn't see any evidence the ball crossed the plane, though.
Yeah, well, his arm was in the way. There was a helmet in the way. It was really, really hard to be able to say.
So Harrison Butker for the point after. Credit St. John Days for the touchdown run. And the Jackets, 8 plays, 71 yards, and 3:48 to draw first blood in Charlotte.
Say nothing. Vertical pass.
Got to have the clicker handy. We'll keep it posted on all 3 games of playoff impact tonight. So Butker to kick it away. The second possession for the Seminoles coming up. Exactly the sort of start Paul Johnson would have drawn up. Whitfield from his end zone. Sprinting forward. And Kermit Whitfield knocked down across the 25. Heather?
Not the start that Florida State's defense wanted. 2 defensive starters out of the game right now. Matthew Thomas in the locker room with a left shoulder injury being examined. Guys, that's big. He's the one that's starting for the injured Terrence Smith. So right now, E.J. Levenberry in for him. Also, defensive tackle Eddie Goldman getting wheeled into the locker room with a right foot injury. I'll let you know if they can return.
These are ominous signs indeed. Thomas has had a shoulder problem, but going to be counted on tonight with Terrence Smith. Gimpy. Cook gets some blocks on the edge and a nice gain, first down yardage across the 35.
Remember, Florida State used to being in this situation. That they have done a heck of a job this year of getting down and keeping their composure. And this is very, very early in the game. They're still trying to kind of establish the flow of this offense and trying to get Jameis Winston settled in, making his reads, and trying to find some matchups they like on the perimeter.
Winston fires high and incomplete. He's trying to get the ball to the freshman Travis Rudolph. Jameis 0 for 2 in the early going.
Chris Melton that time sat back and kind of dropped underneath that route. Jameis is fortunate there that Milton did not get back and step in front of Rudolph and go up into the air and make an interception there. It would have been his 14th in the first half this year.
His defense, excellent ball hawking, 27 takeaways, 17 of them in their current 5-game winning streak. A second down carry hit hard right at the line of scrimmage by Sean Green.
You know, this defensive line for Ted Ruth, the defensive coordinator, they do such a good job being undersized but using a relentless attitude. Boy, that is perfect technique here. Being able to take on that block, getting right by Josue Matias, and using quickness. There's Ted Ruth, the defensive coordinator. Played at Georgia Tech.
Winston on 3rd and 10. Flag before the snap. And it'll back him up 5.
Ball start. Number 77 on the offense. 5 yards. 3rd down.
It's Roderick Johnson, the true freshman left tackle, moving to that position when Cam Irving, the tackle, shifted to center. That's been a successful move for this offensive line. But boy, you got to manage your nerves if you're a true freshman in a championship type game.
Especially on 3rd down. He's worried about that speed to his outside. He's done that a number of times in games we've had, Chris. A lot of these linemen have done that for Florida State.
Jackets crowd making some noise. They show pressure, then back off. Now bring 5. Winston well protected. Throws high, and O'Leary makes the catch in Tech territory. When in doubt, target number 35. Great throw.
Great throw, and Georgia Tech has one-on-one coverage here. Actually sits back behind the zone. Linebacker sitting in there. The ball has to be thrown on a rope because the safety's closing in on Nick O'Leary. How about this, the athletic ability by the big tight end to go up and make that catch before he had to take the collision there from the safety.
Catch number 111 in the senior's career. Winston play action on 1st down. Takes another shot. Downfield, O'Leary wide open and will stroll into the end zone. From 3rd and 15, Kirk, 2 lightning plays.
He's right here. The safety follows, and he's going to just go down on a wheel route. Watch the wheel route. They get confused in coverage. Right here, this guy's in no man's land. The safety clears out with the post, and nobody picks up the tight end on the wheel route down the sidelines. That's how quickly Florida State can strike.
Yeah, from 3rd and 15, they got 22 and 46 to O'Leary. And Aguayo to tie the game midway first quarter. O'Leary's 6th touchdown this season and 17th in his career. He's Florida State's all-time tight end leader in every receiving category. Cam Irving with the Jacobs Blocking Trophy Award, something he also won last year. So each number 5 directing a touchdown drive in their own styles. Winston with a brilliant throw on 3rd and 15, and then found a wide open O'Leary with the play called wrinkle by Jimbo Fisher. Short kickoff taken by Golden. Spins ahead to about the 24-yard line. Well, Kirk, this is shaping up as a very interesting Sunday afternoon. The selection committee's final rankings. Who's out, who's in. The selection show presented by AT&T, 12:30 Eastern on ESPN. Also in the Watch ESPN app. I don't think that 6 teams are going to fit into 4 slots.
No, we know Oregon's in. We know Alabama's in. TCU making a statement, 55-3. And now we're sitting back and watching this one along with the other 2, the Big Ten Championship and what Kansas State and Baylor are doing.
First down handoff. Baylor, by the way, 2-touchdown lead, already over 200 yards offense against K-State. Cordell Jones, another touchdown pass for Ohio State. We will keep you posted closely at all those games. It's fun to have interconnected playoff impact games in the final Saturday of the regular season.
All over the country, from the West Coast to the East Coast, North and South. Everybody's kind of tied in and interested to see these results.
E.J. Levenberry filling in for Matthew Thomas with the shoulder problem, as Heather mentioned. On 2nd down, they try the middle. A flag is down as Mario Edwards makes a tackle along with Desmond Holland.
Offsides. 44 on the defense, lined up in the neutral zone. 5 yards, 2nd down.
You got DeMarcus Walker, the linebacker, who was right at the line of scrimmage. There's Thomas trotting back out of the locker room after that shoulder was looked at. It's a tough offense to play against as a linebacker if you got a shoulder issue, Kirk.
Yeah, it's good to see him jogging back out, but Eddie Goldman's still in that locker room and a big part of this defense.
Misdirection play. Thomas still has it. Far side, breaks a tackle, running free out near midfield. Hammered out hard by Jalen Ramsey. Quarterback on a slick field did a good job reversing his direction.
Yeah, watch the left guard, Trey Braun. He leads him around and does a good job of hooking. DeMarcus Walker right there gives him some room. As always, the receivers are cutting downfield, taking down the defensive backs. That was Dennis Andrews, the sophomore. And then you see the quickness and that suddenness from Justin Thomas and how quickly he accelerates downfield.
Rained all day in Charlotte. The field drains well, but it is a little bit damp, to say the least, and traction could be an issue. Not for St. John Days, though, when he hammers straight ahead for 8 more.
No, early in this game, they've really been able to do whatever they want to do. The inside running game, you're reading Mario Edwards. If he collapses down, the quarterback pulls it out on the option. Then he takes it to the next level. At this time, reading Jalen Ramsey. If he's too wide, he can't get to the fullback. You give it to him, and then he picks up big yards. The difference, Chris, between a lot of the zone read stuff from the shotgun to Paul Johnson's system is it's under center, and it hits so fast, you have to make quick decisions as a defense.
Thomas keeps it. Was thought about pitching it. Brought down hard by Reggie Northrup. A high tackle, and it's a loss.
That was a great job by Reggie Northrup being able to make the play. But actually, let's give P.J. Williams, number 26, a lot of credit. He gets off of the block from the wide receiver, and because of that, there's nowhere for him to go. So Northrup makes the tackle, but see to your right, 26 gets off of that block. He takes the pitch back away, so there's nowhere for Justin Thomas to go with the football.
First time the Jackets have faced a 3rd down tonight. They are a tremendous 3rd down team. Number 1 in the FBS in that department. Handoff in the backfield. Knocked down hard is Tony Zena, but it is another third down conversion for this team that does it so well.
Here's the counter. If you over pursue, you've got to be ready for this play because they'll come back the other way. The defense is going to go this way. He picks up a nice block right here, and it's a nice big running lane. Watch the middle linebacker move over, blocked right there by Perkins, and it opens up the running lane for the first down.
Zenon, the senior, took a shot to his leg. He walked off slowly. Jackets playing again. Here comes the pitch to Andrews. Andrews has the quarter. Stiff arm, still running. Knocked out of bounds at the 16. Tech threatening again.
Michael Summers, the sophomore here, helps Georgia Tech outflank. You're going to see a block coming in right here on Jalen Ramsey. You'll see number 8 right here gets crack blocked by the receiver. Another block to the outside by Perkins. And then you just get the speed to the perimeter. So they're outflanking them. They're attacking wide. They're coming inside. And again, Florida State, you just sense that their heads are spinning right now trying to defend this attack.
You understand why. First down carry for Days. Kirk, they already have 5 runs of 10+ yards. That gives them for this season 129. That's an incredible number.
It really is. And what's the answer? How do you defend it? You have to win up front. Your defensive linemen have got to be able to beat blocks and get penetration. Because if you sit back and you're trying to kind of guess which way they're going to go this time, or you're reacting to the quickness of their execution, you're in big trouble.
Thomas keeps it, pitches very late. A risky play down the goal line. Taken there and hammered immediately was Andrews. P.J. Williams, another good tackle.
Well, P.J. Williams is starting, I think, get a little bit more comfortable with how these receivers are blocking him. And that's another thing in a way you can defend it. If a quarterback's going to take a risk like this, he takes the hit from DeMarcus Walker, makes the pitch. But see, Hill, 31. P.J. Williams got away from him and was able to come up with that big blow. That's the difference. They've been getting blocked, and when you can get off those blocks, you take that pitch back away.
3rd and 5. Thomas drop back, now scrambles. Gets the first down at the 5. Thought we might see the first attempted pass, but instead the quarterback moves the change with his legs.
Remember, Georgia Tech, which is crazy to think, they lead the nation in 3rd down conversions. And you wouldn't think with an option-oriented offense, an offense that runs 80% of the time, that they would lead the nation. A big part of that is when they get to 3rd down and things break down, because of Thomas's quickness, he makes people miss, and he picks up first downs time after time, and that's another example of it right there.
10th play of the drive, it's 1st and goal. Days cuts back, muscles down, stopped short of the goal line. All these speedy guys on the edge, and then you got the 230-pounder to deal with inside.
Such a great compliment to the quickness and the execution of the option game is when you can, I still think that establishing the fullback is the key to this offense. It gets the middle of that defense's attention, and even when he doesn't get the ball, you have to respect that aspect of it, and it opens up the option game and the perimeter run game. And so far, these fullbacks have been running at will into the teeth of that Knowles defense.
2nd and goal. Days again, diving, touchdown. 2 possessions, 2 long marches for the Ramblin' Wreck.
Great surge again. Look at the push that this Georgia Tech offensive line is getting in short yardage situations. They're getting down low. They're driving those defensive linemen into the ground, and that time it allowed Days to go up and over for the touchdown.
Days is a guy who really filled in for Zach Lasky when Lasky had his shoulder. Tonight, so far, it's been big number 10, muscling in for a pair of scores. Jackets back on top. www.jimmyv.org or call 1-800-4-JIMMY-V to donate. Pair of long touchdown drives from Georgia Tech back on top. Late first quarter here in Charlotte. Butker to boot it. It is Whitfield, 4 yards deep in the end zone. Sprinting forward, knocked down at the 25. You know, Kirk, these two division champions played 4 common opponents, but check the margin of victory. In each case, against Miami, Clemson, Virginia, and NC State, Tech won by a bigger margin. On average, they gained more yards and allowed fewer yards against those common opponents. So there's nothing fluky about this 10-2 team at all.
And it goes back to, in our open, Paul Johnson addressing his team. Hey, fellas, forget the brand. Forget Florida State. You've earned this. You didn't win a lottery ticket and say, hey, congratulations, you get to play Florida State in Charlotte. We've earned our way. And that graphic is a great example of that.
Third possession for Florida State. 1 3-and-out, 1 touchdown pass from Winston to O'Leary. He swings it to Cook now in the flat. Nice block from Wilson and a good first down gain. Dalvin Cook is going to be counted on heavily tonight. I get the feeling it's going to have to be Cook, O'Leary, and Rashad Green.
No question about that. And with Carlos Williams down, Cook not only has the big playability, but I think now has become a guy who's become a staple because he's stepped up in so many big games. When they've been trailing in the fourth quarter, his teammates believe in him.
Cook runs to the edge. Jackets pressured up the middle. Open things up on the corner for the running back. Down to the Georgia Tech 42.
Yeah, they brought the 2 inside linebackers right here, and there's nobody that's able to contain Dalvin Cook. See the 2 middle linebackers? Bobby Hart does a nice job of sealing that edge, and then the safety gets actually picked up there by Erman Lane, and it gave even more room there for Cook down the sideline.
26 yards for the freshman from Miami. Cook again cuts it back. Different role for him. Jimbo Fisher has called Cook his trump card because he's brought on to spark the running game, which it's needed at times in games, but now getting the start and having to shoulder the workload.
I think it's a combination of Cook coming on and also the offensive line, but Cook is a bigger back than you would think. I mean, you're just used to seeing Carlos Williams back there, who's a more of a straight line type of runner, but Cook gives you that quickness, the ability to have that lateral quickness along with the toughness.
He's got it again. Knifing into the secondary, down into the red zone. Fisher said, young guy's got to trust his eyes. Sometimes a freshman gets in there with a lot of hype. Kirk wants to make everything a home run.
Yeah, you got to watch the middle and what the blocking. I think that's the adjustment that they've made. Is look at Cam Irving just owning the middle and opening things up.
That's why he's the top blocker in the ACC.
That's what I was starting to say. It's a combination of Cook, but I think once they move Cam to the middle, it's a different game now with the way they can.
See championship game off to a rousing start here in misty Charlotte. 2 possessions, 2 touchdowns for Georgia Tech, and now the Noles are threatening, trying to tie this up. All 57 yards on this drive, Kirk, created by Dalvin Cook. Took a swing pass for 7 and then 3 rushes for 50 yards.
I really believe that's where this offense has evolved and changed this year. You would think with Jameis Winston, it would be all about the passing game, but it's that line in the running game.
It's Cook again, up the middle, barreling, showing the strength to go with the speed. Down near the first down marker at the 9. Quayshawn Neely stopped him.
And Jimbo Fisher is one of the best in the country at coming in with a game plan, putting a script out, and then adjusting how he wants to attack based on what you're doing. And right now he sees a big schematic advantage with his offensive line against an undersized Georgia Tech front.
And second and short. Cook again, knifing right up the middle, leaning, reaching. Marked short. Was going down, tried to extend that ball across the goal line before his knee hit. Now mark him just short, but it's first and goal.
Let's show Cam Irving here again. We're going to get a quick snap here.
Cook again. Why not? It's the Dalvin Cook drive, and Florida State within a point of tying it.
Interesting that Devon Smith came in to take Jameis Winston out, and the follow after the handoff, a little bit of an exchange there with Smith and Jameis Winston. Watch him hand off for the touchdown, but watch Jameis Winston. It kind of throws Smith there at the end, and the two after that kind of had words for one another. Little exchange there, but the Noles take it in. Nice drive, all, as you said, Cook.
68 yards rushing for Cook in the drive behind a dominant offensive line.
I was going to say, Cook's going to get all the credit, and everybody's going to talk about him, but not on this broadcast. Cam Irving, 75. He deserves an assist. If they needed him.
Interesting. You get 3 games of playoff impact. We'll keep you closely posted as the Seminoles, Aguayo kicks it away. NFL Sunday begins, of course, on ESPN at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. Presented by Snickers, hosted by Chris Berman and the gang. Kirk Herbstreit making a special guest appearance, breaking down college and NFL stuff.
I guess I am. Yeah. Joining the, they're going to bring me up for it. It's like a freshman dressing for the varsity, the last game of the year.
Don't let us down. You need some more reps. Get up there to Bristol and break everything down for us.
I'll be there.
Leading to the 12:30 Eastern announcement of the playoff bracket.
There you go.
Zach Lasky, number 37, the senior B-back, is now in the game after Days has done good work in the first carry for Lasky, and he muscles forward for 6. Heather?
Well, Chris, Florida State defensive coordinator Charles Kelly has been making adjustments on the fly with that whiteboard. A lot of people saying they're at an advantage because of the 7 years he spent as the defensive coordinator at Georgia Tech. But I talked to Jimbo Fisher about it yesterday, and he said, sure, it helps. It gives you ideas about what they think, but knowing what to do is one thing, actually executing it is another. Just because you're in the right position doesn't mean you'll actually make the play.
Thomas on the pitch, on the edge to Andrews, who sidesteps a tackler and leans across the 35 for a first down. Kelly says that Johnson always has a wrinkle or 3 for every wrinkle that you throw at him.
No doubt about it. Not to mention, you're dealing with some injuries right now for Florida State's defense. So I'm looking out there to this defensive line. You have Desmond Holland out there, Derek Nottie, who's a true freshman, Justin Shanks. A lot of these guys haven't played a ton of football, but tonight they're being asked to go, mainly because of that injury to Eddie Goldman, who's still out.
Mario Edwards. The guys will need to step up. Hand off Lasky, nothing doing up the middle. Kelly, who's so reverent about Paul Johnson. He was hired by Chan Gailey, but then coached for 5 years under Johnson. Says even though you know everything about the offense, doesn't mean you can stop it.
No, not at all. And at some point, guys just have to make plays. You could prep them all week, talk to them about assignment football and having eye discipline and being able to do their assignment. But Chris, at the end of the day, there's another defensive lineman, Shanks, who's been in and now checking out of the game. That last play, you saw defensive linemen getting off of blocks and making plays, and that's why it was a short game.
On 2nd and 9, Thomas keeps it, fakes the pitch, still going. Across midfield, Justin Thomas, small, quick, but also tough.
And a missed tackle by Terrence Smith, who has not been in this game and did not start. He's right here. If he's able to come up with that play, it's a much shorter gain. Again, here's the execution, better penetration, a little bit of a ball fake right there, the dive and a miss there by Terrence Smith, and even more yards. You'll see 24 coming in from the right. Ramsey bites on it. Smith is right there to make the play, and Justin Thomas just shakes him and keeps running.
Lasky hammers ahead, 24 running plays, no passes attempted yet by the Yellow Jackets.
Well, the combination of Days and Lasky in the middle of this attack, it's no wonder that teams like Clemson and Georgia struggled. So those are good defenses, by the way, struggled so much. This is a legitimate offense. It's tough to prepare for, and they attack you in so many different ways. Up the middle, sets up the quarterback run game and a play action pass.
Lasky breaks a tackle on 2nd and 5. He's near the marker. It's going to be 3rd and very short. Smith did make the tackle that time.
And the margin of error here is just so small. Derek Nottie had his arms wrapped around him. He collapsed down and had his arms wrapped around Lasky. But this Georgia Tech team comes in with a chip on their shoulder. They know that they're playing Florida State. They're not just trying to ruin Florida State's chances of getting into the Final Four. They're trying to win a championship, and they're trying to prove to people that they can play with the best teams in the country.
Trying to get to 11 wins, which is A rarity in the history of this program. On 3rd and 1, Lasky again. Easily falls forward for the first down. When will we see the first attempted pass, or do they even bother when they're grinding out yards like this?
Not right now. We talked a lot on the last drive of Florida State with Cam Irving and what he was doing. And I've said it a lot here in the early going. It's easy to fall in love with Justin Thomas, but Shaquille Mason, the right guard, and the rest of this offensive line doing a good job of controlling that Florida State defensive line.
Jimbo Fisher schedules the Citadel, an FCS option team.
False start. Number 78 on the offense. 5 yards. First down.
To give his guys a look, just in case he end up playing Georgia Tech in the championship game. But Citadel didn't quite look like this Tech offense.
No, the execution, and that's the other thing Jimbo said along with Charles Kelly. It's one thing to talk about, okay, here's what they do, guys. Look at it on the film. Here, now you got to go out to the practice field. How do you simulate this kind of execution and how fast Georgia Tech executes under center as opposed to being 5 yards back running the zone read? It's very, very tough to get ready for.
The 5-yard penalty certainly knocks them off schedule. And now a pitch on the edge. They get about 5 yards back before Williams knocks down Perkins, so it's 2nd and 10.
P.J. Williams is regarded as one of the top cover corners in the country. And tonight, he's having to play almost like a safety as that boundary corner. He's again, doing everything he can of getting off of these blocks from these big wide receivers who pride themselves on blocking corners. So imagine you're trying to get off of a receiver just to be able to try to come up on the pitch back and take him on.
Thomas now drops back. The first pass, looking down the field, caught by Dion Hill inside the 10.
And they eventually set you up man-to-man right here. They're going to slide him down, but the corner will leave. He'll go with the wide receiver to take him out of the equation. Now it's just a matter of the defensive end, outside linebacker there, 44 Walker, staying with him. So they lull you to sleep. There's so much going on. They're running the ball up the middle. Quarterback's running. Counter. And then all of a sudden you got to get ready for the play-action pass.
28 runs, Kirk, and then a 27-yard gain on their first pass attempt. On 1st and goal, B.J. Bostic. Knocked down by Andrews inside the 5.
I just can't believe how easily they're outflanking Florida State's defense. You know, the Noles have such speed, it's sometimes hard to get east and west against these guys, and they are having no problem at all. They're getting a crack block from the receiver, and then the defensive end is getting picked up by an A-back, and they're just walking out to the edge of this defense.
Kelly there is plate chart in front of his pants there. He's been out-schemed a little bit by Johnson at this point, but there's plenty of time. And that play got off to a slow start. Johnson was way out in the field talking to Thomas, and they end up having to take a timeout with the play clock winding down. So 14 apiece in Charlotte. 2nd and goal when you come back for Georgia Tech. All 3 possessions have resulted in long marches. 2 St. John Day's touchdown runs for Tech so far. 4 yards away from the end zone as Winston and the offense look on. It's Lasky behind Thomas. He's got it, and he just walks into the end zone. No solution so far for the Seminole defense.
Not at all. And right now, the Noles just do not have an answer for this Georgia Tech offense. Right here, the left side of the offensive line just does a good job of getting a good push. And there's the A-backs involved. He has nobody to block. I mean, they use the formation to get the strength of the defense to the right. And then the left side of the offensive line picks up a couple blocks. You see the linebacker, Reggie Northrup, comes in there late, didn't have a chance to make the play. They're making this look too easy.
9th touchdown run of the season for the senior from Peachtree City. So the B-backs have 3 touchdowns. Jackets have gone 71, 75, and 75 yards with their first 3 possessions. This game is a former Alabama Mr. Football. I guess that's the top high school player. I would assume Jameis would have got that honor.
Yeah.
That would be too easy. I'll have the answer for you after the kickoff. Some Alabama guys on the roster. This is Wilson. Knocked down near the 30-yard line. Here's our answer. Didn't give you much time to think about it.
Jamal Gold.
Flag.
Guessing.
Deion Hill's from Alabama.
Oh!
Good for you. Good for you as you check your depth chart real quick. See who's from Alabama.
Exactly. How about that?
You know, Paul Johnson loves to recruit guys who are high school quarterbacks and then let them play other positions because they're often the best athlete in the team. Golden fits that bill. Returner. And, of course, the free safety. Pressure on Winston. You got to keep pace with the Jackets the way they're scoring tonight. Over the middle. Catch by Rudolph. 7-yard gain on first down.
The last time they had the ball, the big fella Cam Irving led them down the field with Dalvin Cook behind him. But this is some of the blocks that we saw on that last drive, just taking Patrick Gamble and eliminating him from the middle of that defense, opening up just huge holes for Cook to be able to run into. And the first drive, or first play of this drive, they throw the football, but keep an eye on Cam Irving in the middle of that offense.
Cook cuts it back, first down across the 40.
They have a big advantage up front, and we knew that coming in. 6'5", 323 pounds across the middle, or across the front line. And then you have Georgia Tech at 6'2", 259, throwing the linebackers. Eventually, Georgia Tech's going to have to start to cheat down with their safeties. But right now, they're keeping 2 safeties back, fearful of Jameis Winston and the receivers.
There's a first down throw. First catch for Rashad Green. And the Seminoles' all-time receiver breaks the tackle, gets down to the 43. So Green gets on the board tonight. Huge chunks of yardage for the Noles here.
And what Georgia Tech is doing is they're playing a lot of zone. They're going to make Rashad Green earn everything that he gets. So he's going to make the catch, but he's going to have to do it after the catch because they have defenders with their eyes on he and Nick O'Leary. They're willing to let them run the ball, willing to let him throw underneath as long as they don't go behind him.
Winston fires near sideline, out of bounds. Green was juggling it. Ruled incomplete.
Again, I talked earlier about Jimbo Fisher, how he doesn't necessarily come in with a plan and say, we are going to do this, and we don't care what you're going to do defensively. He really does a great job of feeling how you're defending him, and he has confidence in both his running game and his passing game. And if you're going to sit back, he's going to run the football.
Winston looking to throw. Takes off, has room. A flag comes in behind the play in that holding zone. Winston scampers inside the 25, but this is going to come back.
Personal foul. Legal hands to the face. Number 51 on the offense. That's 15 yards, previous spot. Second down.
It's Bobby Hart, the right tackle.
And they've moved Patrick Gamble, who plays both defensive end and defensive tackle. He was the guy that Cameron Irving was controlling in the middle. They have moved him now back to the outside, up to the right. Number 91 going up against 51. He gets his hands up into the face, actually around the neck there. So the Noles, with a penalty, take away a big gain by Jameis Winston.
You can see that the ankle is, if not fully healed, just about fully healed. Winston could not have taken off like that a couple of weeks ago. Second and 25 now. It's Green coming in motion. Winston looked that way, now flips to the other side. It's a screen. Cook has some blockers, an excellent convoy, and he's back inside Tech territory to get back near the original line of scrimmage.
And with the eyes on this play, again, look at Georgia Tech sitting back. They're reading this play. They actually do a pretty good job of trying to get out there. You can see the quickness from P.J. Davis, but that is a convoy led by Matias down that left sideline. They pick up some big yards, gives them a chance here on third down. Rashad Green in the slot to the right of Jameis.
Officially, they need 12 yards. Winston, looping throw. Defender fell down, wide open for a touchdown is Green.
A rare man-to-man situation by Georgia Tech. We've not seen a lot of this, but they play man-free. 12 right there trying to stay with him stride for stride. He just loses his footing. And Jameis Winston recognizes Rashad Green open late. He actually was looking at Travis Rudolph coming across the middle. I thought he was about to release it, but holds on just long enough to recognize Green pulling free for the touchdown.
That was on a 3rd and 12. So 2 big 3rd down completions tonight for Winston. And Florida State continues to answer the Yellow Jackets touchdowns.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 66 on the offense. 5 yards, replay the down. The try.
Green had a quiet game against the Gators. His 3 catches for 35 yards, but the all-time leader in career receptions and yards. Caught a ball in all 42 of his games at Florida State has Rashad Green. That was a mismatch against DeMond Smith big time.
Let's go back to this touchdown. Talked about him being right here. He gives a little inside move, but there is not a safety back here to help out. The safety's all the way to the other side of the field. I thought he might look right here to go to Rudolph, but he doesn't. He holds on to the ball, sees the defender fall down. Great recognition, puts the ball right there for Green to make the play.
Tech's turn next. 21 apiece. Tied up again for the 3rd time in Charlotte. 21 apiece. Combined 7 possessions, 6 touchdowns. 1 3 and out by Florida State to open the game.
Came in here thinking Georgia Tech needed to possess the ball to keep it away from Jameis Winston. Might be the other way around tonight.
That drive just covered 222 and 71 yards. Let's go to Mr. Cotter in the studio for an update on Championship Saturday night. Chris? Not a bad 3rd-string quarterback jump so far from Ohio State. Wow.
It's just unreal.
We'll chart the various statements being made by these contenders tonight. St. John Days back in the game. They hand it off to the big senior. The Dr. Pepper tuition giveaway coming up at halftime. Stay tuned to see who's going to take home $100,000 in tuition from Dr. Pepper. Halftime 5:20 away. The Yellow Jackets' perspective, they would love to go on a 4th long march of this half, use up a lot of clock, and go into halftime with a lead. They got 4 in 1st down. Thomas keeps it, has a crease, scampers across the 40. Such acceleration to go with. Great instincts for the position.
Yeah, and when you can run the football and you do a good job up front getting a good push, this offensive line's doing a heck of a job getting that surge. The linebackers, the safeties, everybody has to respect the running game because of the way Justin Thomas is doing it. And all of a sudden they do this. Those safeties start to come up, the wheel route down the sideline, linebackers late to react. He puts it out there, an easy throw, and they'll do just enough of that in the passing game to try to create some big plays.
Days again on 1st down. You say what's different about this year's Tech team? That offensive line is one reason, Kirk. They only lose 1 guy. Shaquille Mason, the right guard, is the only senior in that group.
Yeah, they have had a heck of a year, and Paul Johnson sharing with us if there's one area that he was concerned about tonight was cutting off the backside. It's been a problem for him this year. That was an example of it. You saw Matthew Thomas, the freshman linebacker, shoot through that gap and come up with a big play, a rare big play for the Florida State defense for a short gain.
Thomas keeps it, pitches off on the edge now to Charles Perkins, who's knocked down. Nice play by Jalen Ramsey. It'll be 3rd and long.
Now that's how you defend the option. That was a great job of getting off of blocks and getting guys right in position. Trey Marshall comes up there. He forces the pitch. Now you've got Jalen Marshall getting off of blocks. They're garnet jerseys all over the place. Ramsey makes a heck of a play, but it was the entire defense and a true freshman, Trey Marshall, getting his chance to get involved.
Jackets are 3 for 3 on 3rd down, but they need 10 here. Noles defense a chance perhaps at a service break.
Remember, quarterback scramble has been effective for them this year.
Play clock at 2, and they noticed that on the Tech sideline. Paul Johnson calling a timeout for this 3rd and 10 play coming up. In Wisconsin right now, and on Waco, where Baylor's in the battle with Kansas State.
It's going to make it really interesting, not only what happens here in this game and whether or not Florida State's able to get through, but as you said, the other 2 games. TCU made a statement earlier today. Now we have Ohio State making a big statement with a 3rd-string quarterback, and of course Baylor and a little bit of a tighter ball game with Kansas State.
Noles trying to get off the field on defense. Tech needs 10 yards on 3rd down. And they showed pressure. Running up late was the safety, Tyler Hunter.
Number 72 on the offense. 5 yards, 3rd down.
A second false start for Tech's O-line makes it a tougher 3rd down now.
And there was some confusion there. Not only the right tackle Griffin, but also you see the running back in the backfield. There's Hunter coming up late. And I don't know if Hunter even caused that. I think in the snap count, when you have a right tackle and a running back moving, there's a couple guys that didn't have the right call in the huddle.
FSU can get a stop here. Winston will have some time to work with before halftime. Days, nothing. Mario Edwards and Northrup wrapped them up, and finally the Noles defense seems to be figuring things out against the option.
This is the first time there's some pushing and shoving there after the play. The first time tonight the Noles get Georgia Tech's offense off the field, and a lot of it had to do with the play of the defensive line. We talked about Jalen Ramsey and Trey Marshall, but the guys up front getting off of blocks and being able to be involved in being able to make plays. You know, those A-backs, those running backs that are up in the slot, and they have to start worrying about defensive linemen getting off of blocks. That's when you stop the option again.
First appearance for the punter, sophomore Ryan Rodwell. Boots it away. It's a low kick on the bounce. Green will just let it roll out of bounds at the 25-yard line. 2:26 for Jameis to work with before halftime. Tuesday night, January 6th on ABC. Don't miss the series premiere of Marvel's Agent Carter, coming in January to ABC. Speaking of this Tuesday night, Kirk, we have an appointment with Mr. Kimmel.
Jimmy
Hollywood.
Kimmel. That's right.
Who gets the chair closest to Jimmy? Are we going to flip for that, or are you going to
you can
claim that?
All right. You can claim that.
All right, let's see if the Noles, who are well aware that Tech's going to get the ball to start the 3rd quarter, see if they can get the lead before halftime. Winston over the middle. O'Leary makes a nice catch. Quickly into Tech territory. 3rd catch for O'Leary.
Zone with 2 high safeties right here. They got to shoot right in there. Jameis understands that. He's got to get the ball over the linebackers, throw it on a line. So again, you get a chance to get the ball in there, and then you get the receiver to get down and be able to protect himself from the defense.
That time the pass knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Adam Gotsis, the junior tackle, got his hand on it. Noles, frightening efficiency. 22 plays. They gained 275 yards. You see Gotsis with the left hand.
We're so used to seeing their offense struggle in the first half. That has not been the story tonight with Winston in the offense.
Well protected. Fires across the middle. This is a catch by Rudolph. 1st down.
Play took a little bit of time. Offensive line, great job of giving Winston plenty of time. Crossing route by Rudolph, who to me just keeps getting better and better as a true freshman.
His 2nd catch. Noles have moved very quickly into scoring position. On play action. Now they flip it to Cook, who they faked it to. And he gets about 7 more.
And Georgia Tech, their scheme is just to try to keep everything in front of them. They do not want to give up any big plays, and they're forcing Jameis Winston to show his patience. Crossing routes, check down to the back. He's been able to hit the tight end, Nick O'Leary, a couple times into the middle of the too high look of the safety, right between the 2 safeties.
And 2nd and short, Winston fires. Near side bobble drop by Wilson. Saw that since the first possession, which was a 3 and out. The Noles are averaging about 13 yards a play.
that's a ball that Bobo Wilson he just has to catch. You're in a 2-minute drill. You need points. Ball is perfectly thrown on 2nd down for a 1st down, and now it sets up a 3rd down because of the drop. Tighter coverage here now from Georgia Tech, man-to-man.
Cook cuts back, has a 1st down inside the 25. Dalvin Cook approaching 100 yards before halftime. The Capital One halftime report. John Saunders, Mac Brown, Danny Cannell. Always interested when we do these Seminoles games, the latter two. I'll keep you up to date what's happened throughout the day. Winston on 1st down, has a lot of time, delivers across the middle. Once again, this is Rudolph, knocked out again at the 16.
Always talk about, I don't know if there's a team in the country that works harder on Thursday practices and their 2-minute drill than Florida State. And I'm so impressed when they go the #1 offense against the #1 defense, and how intense and how competitive an atmosphere Jimbo Fisher creates. Guys are yelling at each other. Jimbo's yelling. It's a very, very intense. It's all to be able to create confidence when they get into these situations.
Cook and Winston bump into each other, and Dalvin knocked down short of the marker. So it'll be 3rd and short. Deshaun Freeman, the freshman defensive lineman, was there, but that was not a clean exchange.
No, not at all.
Jimbo getting intense with the quarterback right there.
That's all part, as he says, ball.
Sure.
You talk to Jimbo, he'll say, that's ball. That's part of the game. And you're in the heat of battle. You say things and do things with passion and energy. Don't ever make any mistake of think that Jameis Winston doesn't respect Jimbo Fisher. He does, without question. Sure. But you can still have a loud conversation about what you're seeing and what coach might be seeing.
You talked, Kirk, about the look in Winston's eyes. It's something I always like to observe.
He's got to look back tonight.
He didn't have the look against the Gators, did he? He's looking somewhere else.
And I don't think he had the look against Boston College. He's one extreme or he's the other. He's either looks a little bit like he's just off center, or he looks like he is completely locked in. And tonight, I think he had a little bit of a slow start, not with turnovers, but they weren't executing as well. But since about that 3rd possession, he and this offense have been locked in. And also give Jimbo a lot of credit for making the adjustments. Instead of waiting till the half, they did it early in this game with the running game and that offensive line.
High formation on 3rd and very short. Cook has the 1st down, hammers forward to the 7. It'll be 1st and goal inside the final minute of the half.
I was just about to say 3rd and short. We're 75. I'm going to follow him with Dalvin Cook. Cam Irving just getting a push. Anytime you want to get short yards, follow the middle of that offensive line, led by Cam Irving, Lutius, and Jackson.
Fisher with 2 timeouts. No urgency here on this play on 1st and goal. Winston to the end zone. In traffic. Touchdown. Another for Rashad Green. His 2nd tonight. Noles take their 1st lead.
This is just hours and hours of work with Rashad Green and Jameis Winston. How about they weren't in a hurry. They weren't panicking. The clock's ticking down. Everybody's calm. They get some one-on-one opportunities, which they haven't had a lot of tonight, and they hit it for a touchdown.
Their 4th consecutive touchdown drive after that opening 3 and out. Winston, since that 1st possession, is 12 of 15 with a drop. He has been razor sharp.
He's all the way inside here, and all he's going to do is go out here. And both of these receivers on the inside kind of just take away, and it opens up the outside. But again, this ball is thrown even before Green is able to get out there away from the defender. One-on-one, instead of a zone, instead of trying to find that hole, that soft spot, you give Jameis Winston time to throw, and Rashad Green a one-on-one matchup against a safety. They will hit it every single time. And that time, Jamal Golden, the free safety, trying to stay with the best receiver, not only on the Florida State roster, but maybe one of the best in the country with Rashad Green.
Jameis against the Gators, just 125 yards, Kirk. He's got 222 in the 1st half. Best first half of the season, by far for him.
Oh, no doubt about it. This is the part that Jameis Winston, he gets guys fired up. You know, he keeps them focused. Guy makes a mistake like Bobo Wilson, he's going to get him back in, get his confidence going. Guys that are making plays, he's just continuing to work. He will not stop for 60 minutes.
Golden takes it, and it'll be a touchback. Could not have a sharper contrast, both in his demeanor, his appearance, and his performance, between an emotional, tough home victory over Florida and tonight here in Charlotte.
It's been an interesting few weeks for him. Last week against Florida, the way he played, he had a lot of criticism, which he's used to. But Tuesday and Wednesday with the hearing, they ended up having to adjust their practice time with practices late. Jimbo told us on the phone this week when we talked with him, it's probably the best week that he individually has had, because it was almost like it was his sanctuary, getting away from all of that.
Thomas, a first down throw near sideline into traffic, and the catch is made by Darren Waller, one of the receivers who will have to step up tonight without DeAndre Smelter in the lineup. Johnson knows eventually they're going to have to complete passes if they want to win the game.
Yeah, and this is 22 seconds remaining. You have one timeout. An offense that runs 78% of the time. This isn't necessarily their wheelhouse, but I think they're still trying to think that let's give it a shot. And actually, the clock's already working down. He didn't get out of bounds.
I think Tech thought he did get out of bounds. They wind the clock after this change removed, and so Thomas, inside of 10 seconds, is scrambling around now. We'll just throw it away, and now there's just 3 seconds in the half.
Yeah, now you just want to get out of the half and not make a critical mistake here in your own territory. You're only 3 seconds away from getting into this break.
Johnson, I think, would have spent a timeout if he realized the receiver was stopped in bounds.
That's why he's frustrated.
Tech will get the ball to begin the third quarter, try to get back to what they did in those 3 touchdown drives.
I still don't. Maybe they just called forward progress. I'm shocked that they didn't stop the clock.
AT&T college football playoff rankings. Kirk, if you're TCU and you were number 3, jumped up over Florida State, the Noles won again, dropped to 4, and you figure like, okay, the number 4 team, they're in the bubble position. TCU wins by 52 against a 2-10 Iowa State team that didn't win a conference game, and now Ohio State a 31-0 lead over a Wisconsin team that Barry Alvarez is the athletic director of, and he's on that committee. Baylor leading by 10 over a tough Kansas State team. It's not going to fit into a 4-team bracket very easily.
Here's the thing with TCU, who they played today, and here's who Ohio State played today. That might come into play a little bit as well.
It is, but again, and Jeff Long talked about it, the chairman of the selection committee on game day, again, they don't think the way the polls have thought. This is a brand new era.
Brand new week. They look at it week to week.
Yeah, but traditionally, the final play of the first half will be a short gain for days. Traditionally, if you're number 3 and you win by 52 points, you're not dropping.
Right.
TCU would have to drop twice.
Yeah.
Leapfrog, in effect, by 2 people.
Yep.
The Noles feel like any win and they're in, and they lead by 7 after an exciting back and forth first half here in Charlotte. 4 touchdown drives for the Noles after an opening 3 and out.
He was skitching, but his
Winston threw for 222 and 3 touchdowns. 2 to Rashad Green. That Heather Cox with Fisher.
Chris, thanks so much. Coach, last week, Jameis Winston threw 3 interceptions in the first half. Tonight, a totally different story. What do you attribute the change to?
Nothing. He's had a great week of practice, and he redeemed himself and got back on right. And that was a rarity for him last week.
When we talked this week, you said to stop the triple option, you have to pick your poison. What part of that option do you need to do a better job against in the second half?
Looks like all 3, but they're doing a good job of mixing counters, and they've got some things that we haven't seen a couple times. But you know, Georgia Tech's got a good team. We got critical stop there, and when we get them on offense, we got to maximize the points.
Jimbo, thanks for your time.
Lots of talk about style points. Heather Cox with some style points.
Heather went with the lid.
Yeah.
I didn't even see that pregame.
28-21 for the Seminoles over the Jackets. End of the first half in Charlotte. After these messages, the Saturday Night Football on ABC and the Dr. Pepper ACC Championship game. Wild first half, 574 yards. If you don't count the Jackets' possession in the final seconds of the first half. Each defense, Kirk, got 1 stop. They got 7 touchdown drives between 71 and 75 yards.
It's going to be an amazing second half because of everything that's at stake. You have an ACC championship, obviously, for Florida State, trying to secure a spot in that Final Four. And this is usually where we've seen Florida State play their best football. But, hey, This is also a Georgia Tech team that's coming off of a game last week where they had to come up with some answers in the second half against Georgia. So this is going to be who's going to be able to come up with a big play, and which defense will be able to come up and make an answer or two.
Guile with his short kick, which will give Golden a chance. Hammered at the 20-yard line. The resilience of Florida State, well documented, but so it is for Georgia Tech. Winston, from the moment he arrived, a different look in his eye and a very sharp start.
Yeah, a very different first half. And boy, you just can't say enough about Paul Johnson and this offense led by Justin Thomas, making a lot of good decisions in this option-oriented attack. And we'll see if Charles Kelly, the Florida State defensive coordinator, and his players have some answers here in the second half.
Thomas keeps it, then pitches late. Perkins has the corner, and a nice gain out across the 40. The 3 touchdowns came from the B-backs, Days and Lasky, but they gained a bunch of yards on the edge, Kirk.
Yeah, this is a great read. You'll see the linebacker actually come down right there. The linebacker, Northrup, takes the dive, and he pulls it out, recognizes that collapse, and the open to the outside, pulls it out there, and there they go again, running the football.
This is the way they began the first quarter. 20-yard gain on that play. Pitch again, and slipping as he tried to cut was Andrews. Heather?
Chris, I caught up with Paul Johnson, whose biggest concern is how to put more pressure on Jameis Winston. He said we're bringing 4, sometimes bringing 5, and nothing's working. Look for them to bring more pressure from the edge here in the second half. He also said we have to be a little bit more aggressive offensively. We've got to find ways to find the holes. He said this is just what we wanted, a limited possession game. We just can't miss a thing. We need to play nearly perfect if we want to win this game.
Heather, thank you. Both defenses needing to make some adjustments at halftime. Thomas keeps it, now pitches again. It's Perkins on the edge, knocked down by Tyler Hunter, who came up quickly, and it's third down.
Adjustment from Charles Kelly, as Heather just talked about. They are giving the read to the quarterback, Justin Thomas, to pull it. They're collapsing down with Chris Casher, and that read, by doing that, that tells Thomas to keep the ball. But to do that, Nate Andrews and the rest of these defensive backs have got to be able to make plays on the outside. You're virtually telling the secondary, listen, we're not going to give up the inside run. We're going to take that away. You guys got to make tackles on the perimeter.
Kelly over there asking for noise from the crowd on third down. Thomas keeps it, now pitches it late to Perkins. Tries to get the corner. Hit hard, falls forward for a first down. That was Deion Hill, number 31. Now they mark him short. The Tech fans are booing at that spot. Initially, I think they thought he fell across where that stick is on the far side, right at the 47. Awful, says Johnson. You can read his lips on the mark. Short of the yellow line. It'll be fourth down. See if this spot was fair. And he spotted it right short of the 47. He fell forward. Oh boy, it looks like the ball did cross the line.
It did look like that. It was tough to see with that left elbow when it touched the ground where the location of the ball was.
It was right in front of Johnson. It's at the near hash, and he knew the mark was, in his words, awful.
But the way they've been executing with this running game, not shocking that they're deciding to go for this in Florida State territory.
Days, the 230-pound senior, is the B-back behind Thomas. And they give it to him. And he falls forward. Almost impossible to stop him for a loss. In fact, Kirk, if you look at the career of Days and Lasky, almost no negative yardage runs. It's remarkable.
And you talked earlier about the story, the injury to Lasky, which moved Days into that fullback spot, and he has just been amazing these last few weeks, last 3 or 4 weeks, and what he's been able to do, where instead of moving him back, he's had such an impact. They've kept Days and Lasky together at that spot.
Thomas keeps it as the corner. A couple of good blocks, a couple of big hits. He spun around and the whistle blows. And now Tech wants a flag on their sideline. Don't see one. The game was to the 30. Again, Thomas accelerating.
And again, last time was Chris Kasher to the right. Now it's Mario Edwards who's collapsing down. When you collapse down, the quarterback is going to read that, and he's going to pull it out. Now you got to be able to make plays on the outside. Look at the great blocks, though. There's nobody left out there because of the blocks. Guys are not getting off of their blocks, whether it's a lineman getting up to a linebacker or a receiver on a corner. There's plenty of room. With Florida State taking the B back away, there's plenty of room for Thomas around the edge.
Hunter and Northrop gave the quarterback a big shot at the end of the run. First down, Days ahead. Hard-earned 2.5-yard gain. Eric Noddy, the freshman, stopped him.
Time just a called handoff to get Days the football. And there was not a read that time. The triple option for Thomas. They love to keep the middle of the defense aware of that fullback. It just sets everything else up in what they try to do. And they have had a great night tonight. The combination to get Lasky and Days.
2nd and 8. And try the middle again, and the Noles stuff it. It's Days stopped by Chris Kasher. 3rd and long.
Yeah, this is one of the first bad reads that we've seen tonight. And Thomas, you'll see his frustration. He actually pats himself on the chest. The 21 right there collapses down. That's his read. He takes him away. Thomas has got to pull that out. Now watch what Thomas does. Kind of claps his hands and pats himself on the chest, kind of indicating, hey, that was my bad.
What will Johnson call him on 3rd and 7? Does he have Thomas throw it? Thomas 2 of 3 throwing the ball tonight. Play clock at 3. It's a keeper. And they've got blocks on the edge, and Thomas has a first down. They can make it look so simple, Kirk, when they execute like that.
But they fake the pitch one way, and then you get the fullback out into the flat to the right. You give him the option to throw it to Days or to run it. Days just actually picks up a block on Marshall, and they're just relying again on the mobility and playmaking ability of the quarterback, Justin Thomas.
I don't think the true freshman safety, Trey Marshall, enjoyed seeing big St. John Days coming at him.
No.
He wanted no part of that block.
No.
This is Lasky now spelling Days, and you got the other senior just hammering forward at the center of the line. But Johnson is patient because the Noles have been doing a better job at bunching the middle, but he just keeps taking his shots at the midsection.
It's a yin and yang game of inside and outside run with this offense. I'll tell you what, though, now you're starting to talk about the wear and tear of this offense, and not just the blocking and the cut blocks and the scoop blocks to the linebackers, but hands on hips by the defensive lineman. 11th play of this drive.
Lasky. And the 46th running play of this game for Georgia Tech, which creates obviously more wear and tear on the defense.
Gut check time up front for Florida State with the defensive line. Terrence Smith, also Reggie Northrop that time made the play. Gotta think that the quarterback here, Thomas, on 3rd down, where they've been so effective all year, is going to have the ball in his hands with either the threat of running or throwing out on the edge to the left or to the right.
Wonder if Johnson's thinking about 2 plays to get the 5 yards. Ball just inside the 5. It's 3rd down. Lasky inside. Stop short. It'll be 4th down and goal.
Well, I don't know, Chris. It almost looks like he may have, with that extra effort, may have come down right on the line.
Good point. They could make a first down before the touchdown. Let's see where the spot is. Johnson didn't like the last one. And this time the ball is on that yellow line.
Yeah.
So Lasky fighting forward.
Another
gut check
defensive
time.
lineman.
Noddy been over there.
Yeah. Eddie Goldman already out for the game. Noddy's been in there playing. We've seen Shanks out from time to time. 1st and goal.
So Tech 5-of-7 on third down, the best team in the FBS in that department. And now just a yard away from tying this game. St. John Days behind Thomas, looking for the touchdown hat trick. Hit behind the line. Excellent penetration by DeMarcus Walker.
You're exactly right. He shot the gap on that right side. Chris Griffin, the big tackle, is actually lined up as a tight end. He shot right between he and Aaron Joe. Talked about gut check time. There's one big play there by the Noles defense and DeMarcus Walker.
Days again. Walks in. Third touchdown for the senior. And the Jackets score in their first possession of the second half. Almost 7 minutes to cover the 77 yards in 14 plays.
Yeah, steal as many possessions as they can away from Jameis Winston. The right side of this offensive line with a great surge. They go back to that same side, and this time great blocks by Joe and Griffin. Open that right side wide open, and Days just walks into the end zone.
Butker ties it up. Back and forth in Charlotte for the ACC Championship, tied for the 4th time. In College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T, 12:30 in the afternoon Eastern Time tomorrow. Florida State fans thinking there's no possible way, no way, even though they keep dropping us after we keep winning, no way they could drop the Noles out of the top 4 with a win. Is there?
For me? No. If they win tonight, I think they're in.
That's what they think. Jimbo Fisher wouldn't even entertain the idea.
And a big part of that, not just, hey, guys, hey, they won, they deserve it. A big part of this whole deal is non-conference scheduling. The intent with non-conference scheduling. Oklahoma State, I know they've had a bad year, but they're a good football program. Notre Dame and Florida. That's about as good as it gets as far as the intent and who they scheduled in their non-conference.
No doubt about that. The problem for the committee with the Noles has been all the close wins, the narrow escapes, but they have an unparalleled survival instinct. Tied up in Charlotte, 28 apiece. Watch another long march by Tech tie this game. Noles' first possession of the third quarter. Cook gets blocks, runs over a man. Nice gain.
Jameis Winston, with all the attention in the last couple of weeks, the way he has played, and with the hearing this week, he came in with a very, very serious focus. We've seen a different look. We always talk about the look in his eye, and he has been locked in. Had a great first half with his decision making, getting the ball thrown, 12 of 17, over 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, and in sync. And not just that, I think making the right checks to the line of scrimmage. They've been able to run the football and throw the ball. Very balanced attack here in that first half.
That run by Cook puts him over 100 yards, 15 for 110. Winston, a play action throw, has man wide open. It's Green gaining yardage, and they mark him out back at midfield at the 49-yard line. And Rashad Green making an impact here. A couple of touchdowns in the first half.
And the action going into the boundary affected what they were trying to do defensively. Right here, Rashad Green's coming from all the way here, over here. Look at the action and how it takes the Georgia Tech defense that way. Rashad Green is all by himself out in the opposite flat. Well-designed play.
Beautiful design there. Completely fooling Tech. Now they flip it to Cook in the flat, trying to outrun a man. Good effort there, coming across to knock him down was Demond Smith. Gained about 5.
An amazing addition he has been to this offense. Losing Devontae Freeman to the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons. A lot of people, including myself, thought Carlos Williams would be one of the top backs in the country. Different kind of runner than what you see with Cook and even Pender when he gets his chances.
Running game's been disappointing for most of the year, but Cook's changed all that. Winston gets pressure, fires, and a fingertip catch by Green. First down to the 35-yard line. We thought they'd run the ball really well with this offensive line. It hasn't been an overpowering running game.
Here's for the youngsters at home, talk about catching the ball with your hands. Your hands. Ball's not always going to be thrown on right on the money, so you got to be able to extend like that. Boy, that's pretty.
Fifth catch for Green. Jackets trying to show some pressure. Winston well protected. Again, dumps it off over the middle of Travis Rudolph. Paul Johnson telling Heather they try to change things up on defense, pressure Winston, but they haven't really gotten to him.
No, they can talk about pressuring him, but I think at the same time, they rather, in picking their poison, they'd rather have Dalvin Cook in the underneath passing game move the ball. They're willing to kind of give that up and then try to lock them down in the red zone. Now they're bringing pressure. Now they're walking up pressure.
Cook breaks free. He's got another first down inside the 25.
The problem when you bring pressure against the Noles' big playability is all it takes in the running game is for Dalvin Cook, with the way his line is blocking, to hit one crease, and he's going to take it all the way to the end zone because everybody is blitzed. There's nobody left back there to defend him. Or if you blitz Winston and he has time to throw, now you got to deal with Rashad Green and Travis Rudolph and Nick O'Leary. So they're trying to pick their spots.
Three receivers to the right. Winston looking to throw on first down. Plenty of time. Again, dumps it off short to Rudolph. And the freshman picks up about 3.
That is just amazing protection by that line. They brought 2 linebackers up the middle. You would have thought they were rushing 3. Just nobody. Look at it. Both linebackers coming up the middle. Winston has plenty of time. Sits in that pocket patiently. Feels the pressure but doesn't abort. Sits right in there, deals with it, and makes an easy throw.
Has he been hurried or knocked down at all tonight?
Not much at all.
Cook picks his way patiently, gaining about 3, and he'll set up third down.
That's what Ted Roof wants to do. Give up the short, the short throws in the running game. Try to get him to third down. Try to get him into the red zone and see if you can force them into a field goal. Now you got to make a play on third down if you're Georgia Tech.
Noles have converted 4 of 5. Need only 2 here.
Under center, probably going to follow Cam Irving in the inside of that offensive line.
Stevenson, the fullback, in front of Cook. Cook on the stretch play is knocked down short, so it's 4th down.
Interesting call, going wide instead of where they've had so much success, again, into the interior of Georgia Tech's defense.
Field goal attempt coming up. This is a victory for that Georgia Tech defense.
That's the plan. That's just showed Ted Roof, and all week long, that was the plan. We're going to give up some yards, but we got to get off the field either on third down or down in the red zone. We got to try to make them kick field goals.
Aguayo, 13 for 13 inside 40 yards. He's only missed twice this year. So the Noles go back on top. They answer Georgia Tech's touchdown drive with 3:13 left in the third. After the game, be sure to go to ESPN3.com for live coverage of the trophy ceremony, the Dr. Pepper ACC Championship. Noles trying for another one. Would be their 15th ACC title, which would pull them in front of Clemson. They only joined the league in '92. Clemson's been in there since '53. And now the most important possession of the night so far for Georgia Tech. The Noles have gotten points, Kirk, on 5 straight possessions. Jackets had a long touchdown march a few minutes ago. But they're not stopping Jameis.
No. I mean, they were able to force that field goal, but Florida State has been moving the football about as effectively as Justin Thomas and the Yellow Jackets. You're right. The last drive that Georgia Tech had, I mean, they moved the ball right down the field and put points up on the board. A heck of a drive.
Thomas fakes it to Lasky, has it on the edge and now pitches out. Perkins, they've used that play time and again, and they have not stopped Charles Perkins on the perimeter.
No, and again, it's just triple option football. The dive is taken away, so you take it around to the next level. This young man does this about as well as we have seen Paul Johnson's quarterbacks do it, with the consistency on the reads. Take away the dive, go to the next level, get a good block from a running back downfield and a receiver, and there's just all kinds of room to run in that alley.
Actually, it's an off night for Perkins. Kirk, only 9.4 per carry tonight. 9.7 coming in for the season. Lasky. Tough senior gains about 3. Heather, what do you
Chris,
have?
as you guys saw, FSU great Derek Brooks is here. He's been in the players' box, was in at halftime talking to the players. I just caught up with him about the advice that he's giving this defense. He said, stop trying to kill the quarterback, just tackle him, grab and wrap. He said, you're in position, you just need to tackle better, stay on your feet at the point of attack, and stay off the ground. We'll see if these guys are listening to one of the all-time greats.
Derek, never short on advice. They pitch it on the corner. This is Deion Hill, first down into Florida State territory. You can give advice, you can scheme, you can practice, but it's so tough to stop.
It sure is. And here's the read again. Casher comes down. And when Casher comes down again, there he is. He takes it, but actually tries to come back out. Now you're trying to play a little bit of a game with Thomas where you come down. But the linebacker came up as well. Look at the blocks downfield once again. They've been doing it all night. That time, Dennis Andrews, along with the receiver Waller, downfield.
3:20 on the ground for Tech. Lasky for 2 more. Asher, another tackle.
See Thomas again. He can't be perfect every time. He smacked his hands again. You can tell pretty quickly when he misreads it. And when a quarterback running a triple option misreads it, he's predetermining what he thinks that defender will do, maybe based on the last read, the last play. And that last play, Casher fooled him. He jumped down and then came out to the quarterback. So in this time, he just gave it, assuming Casher would come down again, and he did.
Here's the pitch. Perkins running this way. This time he's strung out. He's dropped for a loss. And the Noles not fooled that time. You ran this offense, Kirk. Does it get tougher or easier as the game wears on to make those instinctive reads?
Well, usually it gets easier when you're having this good a night running the football. But this is just great job of setting the point on the outside with Jalen Ramsey and the rest of the defense flowing from the inside out. Linebackers coming in that time. You saw Matthew Thomas, Reggie Northrup, a host of Florida State defenders pursuing the football as a group.
They need 9 on this 3rd down. Thomas looking to throw. Scrambling now, just fires it to the bench. And a man, Bostic, open. Throws it away. And now it's 4th down.
Well, that's where you've got Florida State has tried to get this offense of Georgia Tech's into those 3rd down and long situations so they can know when Thomas is going to throw the football, and they got pressure and they spied him and didn't give him any room to try to scramble out of there.
Second punt for Ryan Rodwell, trying to pin the Noles deep here in the final seconds of the 3rd quarter. Green makes the fair catch to avoid that ball being down very deep. 11 seconds in the quarter. I invite you to help us beat cancer. The V Foundation awarding 100% of direct donations and net proceeds of events to fund cancer research. JimmyV.org or 1-800-4JimmyV to donate. So the Seminoles defense does stop that possession, which is crucial for their cause. Now they'll get the ball back with the lead for the first time. But a long way from the end zone. Cook takes the toss. Jackets string it out, knocked out for a 2-yard gain by DeMond Smith. 4 seconds in the quarter. Big drive here for Winston and the offense. Absolutely.
Long way to go. And plenty of opportunity to kill some clock and pick up points.
End of 3 in Charlotte. Final quarter coming up after this message and a word from your local ABC station. On ABC and the Dr. Pepper ACC Championship game. As much as we are bringing it to you. Florida State on offense, up 3 as the final quarter begins. Winston's got it. Pressure takes off. For the first time, Georgia Tech invaded the backfield. They just couldn't get the quarterback on the ground.
Yeah, last year I compared him to a Ben Roethlisberger, and I think the more you watch him, the more I think you see those characteristics, because he's athletic, he's nimble, but he's so powerful. It's so hard to bring down. That should have been a loss of about 3 or 4 yards in 3rd and long. And now it's 3rd and 3. One thing to get to him, you got to bring him down.
Not easy at about 235?
Oh yeah, powerful. Man to man.
Winston looking to throw in 3rd down. Green has it and has the first down. Just an easy pitch and catch against that matchup.
Motion him. He gets a matchup against a safety. It's the 2nd time that we've seen that matchup against a safety for Rashad Green. And the eyes of Jameis Winston light up anytime he sees Green one-on-one, let alone against a safety.
Playing quickly. It's Green again in the perimeter. Shakes a tackle. Still running. Rashad Green out near midfield. And the Noles are rolling it again.
Georgia Tech trying to do some things to try to create some havoc. They're trying to blitz a little bit more. They realize it's late in the game. They need to make something happen. In doing that, you're leaving your defensive backs one-on-one. But there, they had a chance to bring him down. That's just nifty moves there, and great acceleration by Green.
Now the 8th 100-yard game of his career. Continues to add to his all-time Florida State records. Winston on play action. Wanted to look downfield. A flag is down in the secondary. The quarterback is down. Dropped by both B.J. Davis and Quayshawn Neely. But the flag was deep, and the Noles are pointing in the direction of Tech.
And DJ White looks like he was holding there. Maybe a couple different Georgia Tech defenders holding.
Holding, number 12 on the defense. That's 10 yards previous spot. Result, first down.
You got Demond Smith. It's the first penalty on Tech's defense tonight.
Yeah, there are a couple different defenders that time that were holding, trying to stay up. Again, they have not been isolated very much tonight, one-on-one. And it is a tough thing to do, to stay with Green and even Rudolph the way he has developed in one-on-one coverage. Both of those receivers are being held by the jersey.
Now it's Tech's defense turned to reel here. Must stop the Noles or they'll fall 2 scores behind. Cook accelerating quickly. Dalvin Cook into the secondary, knocked down at the 30, but gains 12 more.
How many times have we seen Cook in the 4th quarter with some big runs for the Florida State offense? Game's on the line. You go to that offensive line. You go to Dalvin Cook, and he finds all he needs is a little bit of room to be able to get upfield in a hurry. Guy runs a 10-400, and he's a football player. He's not just running track.
Following up the big game against the Gators with another one tonight. It's a blitz for Tech on first down. Cook is knocked down after about a 4-yard gain.
And Tim Roof has decided on this drive, late in the game, potentially making this a 2-possession game if the Noles score a touchdown. He's living a little bit more on the edge, blitzing the linebackers, walking the safeties down.
Fisher will notice that for sure.
I was about to say, when you start to see that, Jimbo Fisher will take some chances, play action, slide a receiver, even a tight end, Nick O'Leary, behind those safeties starting to cheat down.
Winston well protected. A dart looking for O'Leary over the middle. He was looking for a flag. Doesn't get one. 3rd down.
Ball had a little bit of zip on that. Jameis does usually a really good job of knowing when to take off just enough of the ball to give his receiver a chance. But even Green, as good as hands as he has, he didn't have much of a chance there.
Big play here. The Seminoles convert. Tech force a field goal attempt. Winston hesitates, flips it short to Cook, who's got a first down inside the 15. He's been running well all night, and he's caught a couple passes.
And you got a linebacker here trying to stay with the running back in man-to-man. That's a tough ask on third down. And see how late he is to get out there? Boy, that is, again, great job of waiting to call that at the right time against man coverage by Jimbo Fisher.
And a deflating play for the Yellow Jacket defense. Cook again. Tech crowd is at this end of the field. They're trying to make it tough on this Florida State offense. They know the importance of this moment right here. Noles go up 10. Clock ticking away, and a Jackets offense not built for the quick strike.
That's exactly right. And I think that's why Ted Roof has sensed a little bit of urgency in trying to be able to create that pressure by blitzing a little bit more. But again, remember the plan. You're going to give up some plays to get down to the red zone. Now somebody's got to make a play. The field shortens, throws are tougher, the windows are tighter. Somebody's got to make a play in the red zone and force a field goal. Keep it a one-possession game.
The timing was messed up there. Winston shakes free, caroms off two guys, falls incomplete. There was a flag down. Rashad Green came in motion, and the snap came at kind of an awkward time, Kirk.
It sure did. It almost hit Rashad Green.
Illegal shift on the offense. 2 men in motion at the snap. That penalty's declined. Third down.
And the tailback, Dalvin Cook, started to move while Green was in motion. That ball almost hit Rashad Green right there. And a poor decision throwing back into the defense, right back into the middle. You never throw late over the middle. Ball's tipped a couple times, and Georgia Tech almost comes up with that interception.
It's not a free play. It was going to be a penalty on the offense, and almost Jameis's first really poor decision of the night. 3rd and 10. They bring the blitz. It's picked up. Winston, the end zone. Green sort of stopped running. He was open momentarily. Milton closed. 4th and 10.
Interesting that he stops running on this play. Man-to-man, keep running to the middle. Very surprising that he doesn't run away from Chris Milton. Jameis Winston leads him to the middle, to the post. He got separation. He did everything he needed to do. That's a touchdown, but he stopped running on the route.
So Aguayo will try to stretch the lead to 6 from 32 yards. Noles again move it 75 yards, take 4:41 off the clock, but it's still a one-possession game in Charlotte. Thank you. The Broncos trying to get one of the New Year's 6 bowl bids. It was the highest ranking team from the group of 5 conferences. Georgia getting that stop and get the ball back. The Noles, after that 3-and-out, 4 touchdown drives, and the last 2 possessions have been field goal producing drives. This is our Pacific Life game summary. You see the damage done on the ground by Georgia Tech. They've had almost a 10-minute edge in possession time, as is the pattern with the offense.
Yeah, it's been a tough night for Florida State's defense to try to contain this running game. The decision-making of Justin Thomas, and really sets this drive up with so much at stake. Ted Roof does his job as a defensive coordinator, keeps it a one-possession game. They squeeze down in the red zone. Now the ball goes back to Justin Thomas, the quarterback for Georgia Tech, to see if they can keep executing and moving the ball.
St. John Davis mostly in the middle. It's been short gains since the first quarter. Noles doing a better job of bunching things up inside.
But even getting 3 and 4 and 5 yards in the middle, it still makes you as a middle linebacker have to respect that aspect of their offense, which only sets Thomas and those running backs up on the outside that much more.
Play action, pitch, near side, Waller. And a first down across the 40-yard line for Darren Waller. Thomas completing just his 3rd pass tonight.
He felt the corner blitz coming from out here. He saw it before, and he just aborts the play and just flips it out there. He comes off of it, sees the P.J. Williams blitzes, and gets the ball flipped out there in a hurry. No, the safety was late to come up. Great recognition there. He did this last week early in the game against Georgia. Does it again. That blitz coming from the boundary makes him pay for it. Picks up the first down.
He attempted 5 passes again without their top receiver tonight, DeAndre Smelter. Thomas keeps it. Not where to go. Just kind of ducks down after a very short gain on first down.
That time they were able to string that out. We've not seen them have much success as a defense stringing Justin Thomas out. A lot of times they're collapsed down, getting blocked out on the edge, and he just has room to run. That time they got off of blocks, strung him out, and he didn't have anywhere to run the football.
Wind is really picking up. Much windier than has been all night. Seems to be blowing in the same direction Tech is moving. Quarterback keeper on the edge and run down from behind. Trey Marshall, the true freshman. We really haven't seen him play much this year, Kirk. We've had these guys a bunch. He's being called on tonight, number 20.
And Chris, that is a huge play on 2nd down to set up a 3rd down. We'll see if they get a first down. But Justin Thomas is another 5, maybe 10 yards downfield. And Trey Marshall's effort from behind chased it all the way down to set up this 3rd down. Tremendous effort by the freshman.
Pitch on the edge. No, string it out and drop him. P.J. Williams, the corner, came up, and it's 4th down for Tech.
Great job. P.J. Williams has been battling for his life on the outside. Does a good job of getting off the blitz the block by B.J. Bostic. Northrup forces the pitch. How about P.J. Williams?
From his backside.
It's whatever it takes. But I'm going to give Trey Marshall a ton of credit on that 2nd down to set up the 3rd down, and now the 4th down.
Yeah, they're going for it. In their own 46.5-yard line. Jackets need 6 to keep the drive alive, or else give Winston the ball in plus territory. Thomas throws near side, incomplete. Receiver was running downfield, and P.J. Williams, who just made the big stop, broke it up. Florida State takes over.
Justin Thomas is a mix-up here with Darren Waller because he has him beat deep downfield. If Waller continues downfield, he's running away from the defensive back. Watch, P.J. Williams kind of is expecting a shorter route. The ball's not in the air yet. Amazing miscommunication, costly for the Yellow Jackets on a crucial 4th down.
Plus 47, up 6. 7:23 away from an ACC championship and perhaps a playoff bid. Expect a steady diet. Dalvin Cook gains about 4 on first down.
You're right about that. With a 6-point lead and closing in on 7 minutes to go, and with the best field goal kicker in college football, at the very least, they need a field goal to make it a 2-possession game.
Winston over 300 yards tonight, 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. Cook again. Dalvin Cook romping into the secondary, still running down inside the 20. What a night for the freshman.
Look at the right side. Look at the vacancy over here with this offensive line that's getting a great push. Nick O'Leary's waiting to find somebody to block. He finally picks up the nickel back down, Damon Smith. But that was either a great check or exactly the right call there by Jimbo Fisher and Jameis Winston. A blown assignment there by the defense from Georgia Tech. Nobody lined up on the right side.
Cook again. Dalvin with more than 300 yards combined the last 2 games against the Gators and Yellow Jackets.
Such a great fit, great compliment to Winston and the passing game. That run is, boy, it seems like every time you get into the 4th quarter and the Noles are in a tight game, number 4 is going to come up with a play.
The trump card, says Jimbo Fisher of number 4. Play action. Winston flips it, so fullback in the flat there, and Freddie Stevenson's knocked out. A couple yards short of the first down. It's a big play chart that Fisher has, isn't it? A lot of options there.
Yeah.
But he's gone mainly with number 4, and Winston looking for his 2 favorite targets tonight. 7 catches for Green. Cook's caught 5 passes as well as the running damage he's done. 3rd and 2.
Think 2 up the middle this time.
Why not? Tried to run behind Irving, but he stopped short. He stopped short, so it's 4th and 1, up 6. Do you call on Aguayo to make it a 9-point game?
You have to make it a 2-possession game. It's by the way, that's the 3rd straight possession that Georgia Tech's defense has been backed up into the red zone, and they force a field goal. Assuming Jimbo is going to look for a measurement.
Did you see Jimbo look at James? He said, "Let me call the game." I think obviously the offense is lobbying to go for it here. Players always do.
Well, he also might be making checks at the line of scrimmage. He might be calling plays, and Jameis Winston might be
fair point.
Checking at the line of scrimmage.
He said, "Let me call it, will you?" See what he calls here on 4th and 1. They'll let the clock run down and spend a timeout with 4:33 to go. You go for it and risk giving Tech the ball back, or do you kick a field goal and go up 9? You think it's an easy decision?
I think it's easy. Make it a 2-possession game.
Let me call the game, he said there. Is he on his way to a 2nd consecutive Lou Groza Award this coming week in Orlando?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Best kicker in the country, up by 6 late, trying to secure a top 4 spot in a playoff and a championship in the ACC.
From 28 yards, right through. 3 consecutive Florida State field goal drives. The lead is 9 with 4.5 to play. Winston and company closing in on another conference title and perhaps a shot at the playoff. Winston trying to secure another trip to college football's ultimate game. First step, of course, getting to the semifinals. Florida State coming in number 4, believing that any win is good enough to keep them at least at 4. Golden right along the sidelines. Hemmed in well, covered nicely by the Noles. Tech will start at their own 15.
Georgia Tech down 6 in their last possession. Had an opportunity on 4th down with Darren Waller at the bottom, and a little mix-up. It's interesting. P.J. Williams, for whatever reason, just stops in coverage, and there's nobody behind him. Then the receiver, Waller, stops, and then the quarterback's confused on what's happening and underthrows the receiver. Just a miscommunication. And a play that Georgia Tech fans and especially players and coaches will look back at, especially if they don't end up coming back and having a chance to win this game.
Hard to know what's in Darren Waller's head, Kirk, but I think maybe Williams just kind of stopping. He sort of hesitated, kind of bumped into the corner.
Yeah.
Here's an update from Indy, Ohio State. An emphatic closing statement. Cardell Jones has been impressive. The defense blanking Wisconsin. Ohio State, of course, began this weekend at number 5 in the committee's rankings. Baylor was number 6. They're holding on against Kansas State, up by 11, pointing to the head-to-head. But will the Big 12 with that TCU Baylor debate be locked at entirely? Might Ohio State jump in there? How will the seedings work out? Behind, you would figure, Alabama and Oregon at 1-2, 12:30 Eastern time. The selection will be revealed on ESPN. Jackets, serious urgency now, down 9. Will throw on 1st down. Thomas has a man wide open, and a diving catch is made. Deion Hill out across the 35-yard line. Tech not really built for this, but remember, Thomas is a good thrower.
He really is. He throws the ball very well. We got an injury, it looks like, to a Florida State player. See if he trapped it. Boy, we're going to have to take another look at that. Derek Mitchell is going off the field.
Yeah, that's got to be looked at and I think overturned.
Oh, yeah. Here's a great look at it right here. That's incomplete.
It went down low, but the ground definitely assisted in that.
Another Florida State defender. Defensive lineman, in his case, so he looks like he maybe have a chance to come back.
Ruling on the field, his catch inbound. Previous play is under further review.
Well, they check it over, Kirk, and we expect reverse it. A chance to salute this Noles defense. It's a nightmare sometimes trying to stop the offense, and one man after another, and then Garnett and Gold has been injured. You got guys stepping up tonight that haven't really been called on a lot this year.
No, I mean, we've seen some guys have to play. We've seen a couple true freshmen. Trey Marshall has stepped up, and Derek Nottie has stepped up to play quite a bit.
But Goldman out early. He never came back.
Yeah.
Terrence Smith and Thomas had not been 100%.
Yeah. And you know what? In the first half, Georgia Tech's offense was moving the ball at will. Charles Kelly, the Florida State defensive coordinator, was reeling, trying to make adjustments, trying to get his guys to do the right thing. Former Georgia Tech defensive coordinator, very familiar with what needs to be done, but getting his guys to do it, there was a struggle. But in the second half, they've only given up 7 points.
That was the opening possession for Tech in this third quarter.
After review, ruling on the field as the ball hit the ground. Incomplete pass. It'll be second down and 10. The 16-yard line, right hash.
So it's an incomplete pass. And you can hear the wind in the microphone of Gary Patterson. It's definitely an issue trying to throw the football at this point, kind of swirling around inside the stadium.
The other thing to think about here is, for Florida State, you change your mindset. You know, now that it's a 9-point game, you're expecting Thomas to throw the football, so your defensive line pins their ears back. You're trying to get him uncomfortable. He's very short, so it's hard for him to see throwing lanes. But you don't worry as much about this running game now late in the game, obviously.
Thomas tries to scramble away, but he's trapped back at the 15.
Really good job with his quickness of keeping him in the pocket. Remember, a lot of the big plays for Georgia Tech, when he drops back to throws, when he takes off. But they bottle him up with their front four. Reggie Northrup's just sitting there, number 5, waiting for him to potentially come out of that pocket. Charles Kelly has his defense in alignment and great position there.
Desmond Holland credited with the sack, and it's 3rd and 10. Thomas looping downfield again. This is for Waller. Miscommunication, and it's picked up by LaMarcus Brutus, and the Noles take over, closing in on a conference championship and a playoff bid.
And another breakdown. Remember, DeAndre Smelter, their top receiver, tore an ACL last week. Between the quarterback and a wide receiver, he gets inside, ball is just thrown up in the air. He stops on the route for no apparent reason, makes it a pretty easy interception for Brutus. There's a look at DeAndre Smelter.
He's a senior, his career over with the ACL tear. Sorely missed tonight, would you say, in the second half?
Yeah, oh yeah. And Jameis Winston came into that huddle pretty emotional. I think the Noles realize what they're closing in on here with 3:22 to go.
Cook, he's been a big part of things tonight, and in our view, I think the most valuable guy in this game.
Without a doubt. Not only running the football, 168 yards. You mentioned he's involved in the pass game as well. His presence back there has been amazing.
Over 200 all-purpose yards for number 4. It could be the one in trouble. I just find it absolutely impossible to imagine a 13-0 ACC champion not getting in that bracket.
I'll go one step further. Oregon, Alabama, and Florida State, just in my opinion, I think they're in. So now you're talking about Ohio State, TCU, and Baylor. 3 teams, 1 spot.
Yeah.
I think Florida State's in. I think obviously Oregon and Alabama are in. It's just it's going to depend on where they're seated. And we're going to find out what the committee is going to be looking at, what they're going to be thinking about We have three very deserving teams. All have a case. And who's going to get that 4th spot? It'll be pretty exciting next, 10, 15, 12 hours?
Absolutely. Of course, the question for Ohio State, minus J.T. Barrett, how would Cardell Jones perform his first career start against Wisconsin, a defense that had been playing pretty well in the Big Ten. Huge performance by all facets of that Ohio State team. But, you know, TCU was overwhelming, and they're saying we were third. We were ahead of Florida State. How can you drop us after a 52-point win? A lot of good cases could be made. Winston's going to throw the ball over the middle. Incomplete, and it's 4th down.
Interesting. Throwing the football. Or they're just trying to work this clock. Make Georgia Tech use that last timeout.
Instead,
now the clock stops.
Yeah, Jackets can keep one, and the punt's coming up.
That's right.
Grapevine, Texas. That's where the selection committee is holed up here in the suburbs of Dallas, watching all the games from noon Eastern time until right now. So almost 12 hours of viewing for those folks. They might be up all night. Sort this out.
They will be.
Those special teams did a good job again downing the Beatty punt inside the 5. Lots more to decide, of course, besides the top 4 into those semifinal games on New Year's Day in Pasadena and in New Orleans. They have to place the teams in all the other New Year's 6 bowl games. Arizona nervous, maybe the way they lost that game to Oregon, they could maybe drop out. Michigan State sitting there at 10-2.
Interesting discussion is going to be the fact that the committee moved TCU to 3. And now you have a discussion between Florida State, we all seem to agree will be in. And when you have TCU in 3, Ohio State, I think, was kind of put in a holding pattern without J.T. Barrett, who's become an amazing story for them. And for them to go out and already put 45 points up on Wisconsin and bottle up Melvin Gordon, get into that debate about jumping 2 spots for Ohio State.
Thomas from his end zone flips it short, and the catch is made by St. John Davis. Takes a big shot there from Trey Marshall. The true freshman being asked to step up tonight and filling in very well.
Sure is. I think he may have to go to the sideline.
He hit a big man.
He hit a grown man. He's staying on the field, and he's.
I'd pick on him in coverage. I'm not sure he knows where he is.
I don't think he does.
Thomas hit as he throws, delivers across the middle. That time Waller is able to make the catch. 1st down. They'll stop the clock momentarily inside 2.5.
And he does throw the ball well, but without his #1 receiver by a large margin, Smelter, it's going to make it tougher. Waller will have to step up along with Summers, but Marshall's still out there.
He's still out there, but he's sort of lost. He had a man run right by him. That was B.J. Bostic, just ran right by Trey Marshall, who's now staying down on the field as the Jackets have moved into plus territory.
Well, that's part of the inexperience. Now, when you are hurt like this, you've got to. There he is, right in front of him. He just maybe at about 60% there, back in coverage. They find that. B.J. Bostic with a big play.
Crowd is booing because he's down on the field, but this is the guy that probably should have laid down a few plays ago.
Yeah, you're right. You can see he's slow to react. He's playing on one leg out there.
Good job by Thomas to spot that. He was trying to cover a slot receiver and was just unable to run.
Yeah, that collision he had with St. Days. You have another injury, Matthew Thomas, who went into the locker room earlier. Looks like maybe cramping.
His problem in recent games has been the shoulder. They're working on the calf as Marshall limps off. Tech pointed to that miraculous comeback against Georgia. Dogs score with 18 seconds to go. All those computers, the formula said that Tech had a 0.2% chance of winning that game. No timeouts. Thomas scrambled. The long 53-yard field goal by Butker to force overtime. Missed a PAT in overtime. They made the pick to win it.
How about that?
0.2% though, Kirk. Yeah. That is not a good chance to win a game. So Tech fans are not giving up yet.
0.2. We're down at 0.02 right now.
No, is that low? Thomas slings it. Once again, Waller makes the catch. knocked down right at the 40. They will stop the clock and move the chains.
Yep. Now you're seeing Waller and Thomas a little bit more in sync here these last two plays. Waller is 6'5", 240. He's got a matchup advantage when he's isolated one-on-one with P.J. Williams.
Thomas looking for him on the edge again against Williams. Looping throw. Tyler Hunter came over head hunting late, and here comes a flag.
Well, they've had opportunities down that right sideline. They just haven't been on the same page. And this time they go back there. They take another chance down the right sideline. At least they executed.
Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 26 on the defense. That's 15 yards, previous spot.
They called that on Williams. I don't think it's on Williams.
No, it was on Hunter coming over.
Williams was in coverage here. After the incompletion, boom, there's the shot delivered by Tyler Hunter. That should have been the man flag.
Yeah, and it was. They just called it on P.J. Williams.
Ball now the 25. Thomas fires near sideline again. It's just a two-man game. Breaking a tackle. There's Waller diving for the pylon. Touchdown Tech. They're still alive.
Sure are.
The big man got away from P.J. Williams in a great effort to dive to the pylon.
Yep, 6'5", 240. P.J. Williams, a pretty good tackler as we've seen tonight at 6 feet, 196 pounds. But the big fella who they challenged all week to come up with plays with Smelter down, dives for the pylon and hits it before his knee touches. That's a touchdown.
That is a tremendous effort by a guy that Johnson thinks has NFL ability. So he can, join the ranks of Demaryius Thomas. He's no Calvin Johnson, but Tech has sent receivers to the NFL, and they think this guy has ability. So Tech converting the extra point.
Now it just comes down, Chris, to the hands team and an onside kick.
And now Tech just needs a field goal to perhaps win it, and Butker has good range, but it will come down to this onside kick.
Yeah. Well, this team never gives up. You can see this year when they've been down early in the year against Georgia Southern, they came back to win that one. Virginia Tech, it didn't look good. They came back 27-24, and then last week, a huge win for Paul Johnson and the Yellow Jackets. As Chris said, would you say 0.2%?
0.2%. The computer said that, not me.
Yeah. Before Justin Thomas scrambled and picked up the yards he needed to set up Butker for the field goal. And now let's see if Butker can work a little bit of magic here on the onside kick.
They tried 4 this year, Kirk. Only made one of them. Made the recovery. The Noles hands team out there, but there's always some anxious moments. They thought they had this conference title won. Thought they had the playoff bid in their hands a few minutes ago.
And with the way Georgia Tech's been moving the ball, if they secure the onside kick, pretty good chance they're going to get into field goal range.
It was a 97-yard touchdown drive. Did it in 1:09. Hello. That's not really the MO for Tech, as the Noles will take a timeout here.
Option-oriented attack. Moving the ball down the field like that.
Heather?
Well, Chris, like you guys were talking about, Jimbo Fisher in familiar territory. They've been in 6 games that were close late in the fourth quarter. So yesterday we talked about whether or not he gets nervous in the tight ones. Jimbo said it's human nature to, but I have to fight it. I can't get nervous because if I do, it keeps me from focusing on what is happening. So in order to stay in the present, Jimbo refuses to let nerves creep in.
Let's see if his guys in the hands team get nervous. Kirk, it's got to be an uncomfortable position. They thought really they had this game won. They had them backed up on the 3-yard line, option offense. Now you got to go out and make a play or two.
Yeah, well, now you have to recover an onside kick. It's as simple as that. If they recover an onside kick with 1 timeout, the game's over. And if they don't, Georgia Tech's got a shot.
Here we go. Bunted up there and recovered by Florida State. They couldn't create that funny hop. That was a very straightforward recovery made by LaMarcus Brutus, who made the pick earlier in this fourth quarter. And the Noles now with $1:47 to go.
Usually you see a kick where they put a little bit more action on it, kick it towards the sideline with a little bit more power or oomph behind it. Here is just kind of like almost one of those onside kicks where they try to surprise you in the middle of a game. It was pretty easy to recover there for Florida State.
That's an indication. I see where they were 1 for 4 recovering him. Didn't really give his guys a chance to even get there.
No.
Tech with just one chance to stop the clock. Cook picks his way. He's trying to protect the ball. And Kirk, just based on the way he's contributed with the running game and as a receiver, he's the unrivaled player of the game. Dalvin Cook, 29 for 167 and a touchdown. Also caught 5 passes.
Yeah, he has been a breath of fresh air for Florida State. With Carlos Williams down, he knew he was going to get the bulk of the carries and got them all. And, you know, I think as this season has gone on, with the move of Cameron Irving to the inside, the running game, along with Jameis Winston and the receivers' development, this is still a dynamic Florida State offense. And Dalvin Cook is a true freshman. Guys playing high school football last year down in Miami as the Noles went on to win a national championship. And now he has become an integral part as the Noles secure their undefeated season, an ACC championship, and on their way into the first ever, the inaugural Final Four college football playoff.
Win streak will stretch to 29. They won the 15th ACC crown since joining the league in '92. In that span, no other team has more than 4 ACC titles. Cook again. Jackets will try to rip the ball out of his hands, but they blow the whistle. It'll be 3rd down.
You're going to work this clock under a minute. But it'll give Florida State a decision on 4th down.
Tech fell just short against these Noles 2 years ago here for a conference title. He didn't come here for moral victories, certainly. Credit Florida State's defense. A couple of stops after getting confused and handled up front in the first half by Tech's option. Cook breaking free, has 1st down yardage, and that will do it for the Seminoles. Might not end the game with a big run by Dalvin Cook, our MVP tonight.
No doubt about it. And before we start to talk about the Noles in the postseason, let's give Paul Johnson and the Yellow Jackets a lot of credit for coming into this game and competing the way they did. The season that they've enjoyed this year. He signed a 4-year extension this morning.
Yep.
This program is all about doing it the right way. Class program. And it's great to see them get to this ACC championship game. But tonight is the night for Florida State. Well, I thought we should just mention that before we go off the air.
They're picked 5th preseason in the Coastal. Get here to the championship game. But again, it's going to be the Noles winning the conference title, capping a perfect regular season and feeling very comfortable that with that record, they will not slide below 4 when the rankings come out tomorrow.
I don't want to speak for the committee ever, but in my mind, I don't care what it's looked like. The way they played this year, they've made it interesting, sure. But if they found a way to answer the bell in every single game, are they the only team to do that? And they've been challenged by some good teams. But 13-0 is 13-0 with the schedule that they've played. In my mind, there's no way they will not be in the top 4.
They played 12 teams in the Power 5 conferences. No one else can say that. One more time. Heather Cox for Jimbo Fisher. Very familiar post-game interview.
Indeed it is, Chris. Thank you, Coach. Congratulations. You are the only undefeated team this season. As you congratulate your family, congratulations, Candy. What did it take to get here?
A lot of guts. I mean, that was a heck of a football team. We knew their option was going to be something that's so different. And our guys, they got enough stops on defense and offense. We maximized our possessions and got points when we had to.
You talk about that option. Your defense was challenged coming in, and then just a rash of injuries throughout the night. How integral was their resiliency?
There was a lot of guys on that field that hadn't played much all year. And it's some big guy, Eddie Goldman, some critical guys for us that got hurt. But that's football. And this team keeps amazing me, but how many guys just keep stepping up and making plays?
Dalvin Cook, amazing too. Carlos Williams out coming in. He came in, had a career high in yards and carries. How integral was he to your team's success?
He was critical. I mean, he was the horse of the night. He and Jameis played flawless. And Nick was great. Rashad was good. All those guys. But being able to run the football now makes us a different football team.
Jimbo, what was going through your head on that onside kick?
Please get that ball. We got to get that ball, and then we had to find a way to get a first down. But we'd had to punt it otherwise. That last run was critical.
Tomorrow's a big day. The committee picks the top 4 and ranks them. If you were picking, where would you rank your team?
Number 1.
No surprise, Coach. Thank you. Congrats. Back to you, Chris.
Now, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, or 4, that's the important thing. It will be interesting to see not just the 4 teams in. The committee's got a tough decision as you see confirmation of another perfect season for the Noles in the ACC. But Kirk, where they seed these teams, Jimbo Fisher was convinced there were some motives involved, that perhaps setting up a geographic matchup. It would have been 1 versus 4 last week. Alabama in the Superdome against Florida State. We'll have to see not just which 4 are in, but where they're placed after you would figure Alabama and Oregon, right?
Yeah, Alabama and Oregon will be up at the top. I think in that order. I think it'll be Bama at 1, Oregon at 2. And we'll have to see how things shake out with TCU and Florida State and Ohio State for the other 2 spots.
If you're right, if it is Alabama 1, Oregon 2, no change. Both teams winning very convincingly in their conference title games. Then, of course, the number 3 team would play against Oregon in Pasadena. The number 4 seeded team would play against the top seed Alabama, given geographic preference in the Superdome on New Year's night.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of confusion with that. The number 1 team that finishes tomorrow at the number 1 spot, they get to choose the bowl that they'll go to. So if it is Alabama, they will be in the Sugar Bowl. And if Oregon is 2, even if Oregon is 1, Oregon's going to go to the Rose Bowl and Alabama's going to go to the Sugar Bowl one way or another. It's just a matter of who they will end up playing there as far as the 3 and the 4 seeds.
Exactly. That'll be a matter of interest as well. But the main issue facing this committee, assuming that they're in line with the idea that Florida State being undefeated has to be in there, is that how do you choose between Ohio State, which made a very strong statement clobbering a Wisconsin team that was favored, and then the 2 Big 12 teams that have been so strong all year?
You know, that's going to be a interesting decision. We're all going to have our opinions about that.
You going to give yours on SportsCenter or now?
I'll say it right now. I think it's Alabama at number 1. I think it's Oregon at number 2. And then I think it's a coin flip between Florida State and Ohio State at 3 and 4. I think TCU has a legitimate resume. They have a great discussion as far as why they're deserving. I think Baylor has a very legitimate, compelling case. But I think Ohio State going in with their 3rd-string quarterback into a Big Ten championship game, the way they played and the way they bottled up Melvin Gordon, who was a Heisman frontrunner along with Marcus Mariota, I think they've made a very, very strong impression tonight.
If you're right, and I think many would agree, you'd have 4 different conferences represented, 4 different conference champions. TCU and Baylor both considering themselves conference champions. There is no doubt in the ACC. The Dr. Pepper ACC Championship belongs once again to Florida State. You'll want to be tuned in tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern Time when the bracket is announced over on ESPN. For Bill Bonnell, Derek Mobley, for Kirk and Heather and our entire production team all season long, Chris Fowler, so long from Charlotte. The Ford Wrap-Up Show's coming up. Here's Chris Cotter.